and then there are some reactions button. If you know, from time to time, I'm going to be asking some comments, questions. So if you can just, you know, put your thumbs up. So this slide, are you looking at the tech support email? Can you go ahead and give a thumbs up? Perfect. Thank you so much. I see some thumbs up. Thank you very much. It looks like you do see the tech support email as well as the number in there. Okay. So with that said, folks, we're going to start with our training. Let me go ahead and click on the next slide here. Okay. So first of all, you probably already have a CASAS website account. If not, you're probably interested on becoming a proctor, or maybe you have been requested to do so. So I would suggest first thing first is to go to the CASAS.org website. The CASAS.org website has the ability for you to create an account. That would be the first thing. We have a link right here, the CASAS.org. And then that way you have the ability to create an account there. You're going to enter all your information and you'll get a link via email so you can confirm that account, just how you would normally log into any other websites. And then once you have that, let's say you already created an account, right? So now you can log into CASAS.org with your own email address. And what's next? Well, next is to complete the necessary certification trainings. Once you have an account and you have registered on our website, you will log in, and this slide has a small picture here, but hopefully you can see that there is a name here. It says welcome, and then you should see your name towards the right. Then once you are registered and you have your name, you can go to the online training page on our home page. I have listed here the 3 required certification trainings that you need in order to perform as a proctor. You'll need the CASAS ETAS Proctor certification, Module 1, CASAS Implementation Basics, and Module 2, the CASAS ETAS Implementation. I believe during this Summer Institute, you would be able to get registered to any of these modules 1 and 2. I think they are offering them, as well as 1 and 3, and then also 4. You are welcome to take those. Those would be the same ones as if you would do them online. But in the Summer Institute, they are an hour long. So in the online version here, this is a self-paced training module. So if you don't have an hour at the same, like the entire sitting, you can just come back to it later and you can take it on your own free time. That would be the difference. All right. So once, or let's say you already have those certifications and you're just wanting to learn what to do now that you have the proctor credentials. So first thing is to complete these trainings and achieve your certificates of completion. Once you have them achieved, go ahead and send them over to your data. And the data manager is going to take care of creating an account for you in our online system. And then the data manager will send you the login credentials, okay? Depending on what part of the country you are, you will be using a specific URL for you to log in to the e-tests online. We have the global server, the California server, we have the Washington server for the folks in the state of Washington. We have another server, which is the Miami-Dade, which are folks for specifically in that particular agency. And then we have another one in California, which is the LARIC. So it really depends on where you are located. You will get that specific URL, but don't worry because you're going to get that information from your data manager. And they're going to provide you, and we also, sorry, I omitted last, the Rolling Hills database. The Rolling Hills database has, it's our pre-populated database devoted for practicing. I highly recommend that you log into this. Let me see if I can paste. Okay. A little bit later, or whenever you have a chance, either Delfino or Beatrice, if you can please paste a link for our help documentation, and I can go over it at the end if you like, so you know how to connect to the Rolling Hills database. There are some instructions, and it's on our website. So back to my slide here. This login credentials are going to be sent by your administrator, which will include your agency ID, username, and password. Okay, once you have your login credentials, let's say you already have them. You already gone through the process of registering your account, of going through the trainings, and now you have your login credentials, and you may have already logged in, but let's just go one step at a time. And please enter any questions in the chat pod. I appreciate all your information. You've entered your name and where you're joining us from. Thank you so much. All right, so let's go ahead and go to our next slide. Okay, duties of a proctor. Okay, here comes with duties or responsibilities. And this may seem like a lot. We have 4 different steps. We have separated them into 4 basic steps. We have number 1 here, prepare to test. So when you are preparing to test, we're gonna sign in, start the testing session at a proctor station, and then open the e-test. I'm not gonna read this all to you because I know you know how to read, but these steps, if they seem confusing, they seem we don't understand every single piece of it, let me go over our presentation, and then we will revisit these steps a little bit later, and hopefully these are going to seem a lot more understanding. Okay. All right. Now you have your login credentials. You are ready to start proctoring tests. What do I do? Well, the first thing to do is to register your testing stations. Using the appropriate URL that you received from your data manager, you're going to click on that URL, whether you are in California, would be ca.etestonline.org, or if you're in the rest of the country, majority will be using etestsonline.org, plural, etests. Then that's it. Once you get to the website, you're going to see this main page. In this particular case, I was using the simulation server. So you're going to notice that it has a different legend right here. It says RHAS, which stands for Rolling Hills Adult School. So this is the main page that you're going to find. And there is this button that says take a test, and I'm pointing to it right now. That button, once you click on it, it's going to give you this download file. At the bottom left, it's going to say CASASwebtest.exe. This is an executable file that when you download it, while this is downloading into your computer, it's going to turn your web browser into a secure mode. What does that mean, into a secure mode? Well, what it means is that it blocks the CASASwebtest.exe file. It blocks any other programs from running, or in reality, there shouldn't be any other programs running in the background of the computer. But if for some reason you had a Word document open, or you were browsing on a tab somewhere, and then you clicked on the webtest.exe on a different file or in a different tab, then everything else is going to get blocked. You won't be able to see the web browser that you were looking at before, or that Word document. That means that it's securing the browser, so you can't access anything else. And that way the student will be in a safe environment, in a secure environment, in order to take their test and then to be an accurate test. Okay, so our next slide here is giving you a picture of what you will get as soon as that executable file runs. Once that casaswebtest.exe, it will give you this opportunity to register your station. Now, very important, when you are registering stations at your local agency or stations that you possess, like a station that you have, a computer, a laptop that you always have possession of it, then please register station with credentials. So this is what we are going to go over today as if we do on-site testing. We're not going to really touch on remote testing as we have a separate webinar for that. So we're just preparing for registering stations at the lab. So please choose a register station with credentials, as this will register your stations permanently. Okay, permanently. So choose station with credentials. Okay, so once you click on register station with credentials, you will find this other box, which is going to ask you for your login credentials, which are exactly the ones that your data manager provided you with. The agency or site ID, the username, and the password. So I see that Beatrice already sent in a link to the help documentation, right? So that has the Rolling Hills login information, which is exactly what I'm entering right here. Once you log in, or once you enter your login credentials, click on the login page. Once you log in, it's going to ask you to decide to click on the site dropdown. If you have a site, if you have different campuses, if you have more than one site enabled for e-test, then you will need to click on this little drop-down menu and then select the appropriate site that you should register your station on. Okay. Each computer can be registered only at one site at a time. So if you have like laptops that you bring over from one site to another site, then you may be required to re-register that station under a different site. And just because if you like to create, because when you register it to one site, that data will get stored into that site. All right. So now the lab information, whenever you are going to enter a new lab, if you're registering your stations for the first time, you've never registered anything before, and you're barely starting to use eTest online, you may not find anything from the dropdown. But don't worry, folks, because you can definitely grab onto your keyboard and start typing whatever the lab name is as how you know that room for. Let's say you have two labs in your one site. You have two labs, room 101 and room 202, or however you know that room for, that computer lab or that testing room. So you can type that into the lab field. Here, when you start typing it, you're going to see another box below with the same information that you are typing. Okay. Once you finish typing, don't hit enter or anything, but instead click on the below box that is going to get pre-filled with what you are actually entering in the lab. And then you click on it. Once you click on it, that's going to stick in there in the field of the lab, and simply click on the station name next, and you're going to enter your station name. Once you enter the station name, then you can go ahead and click on the register button as indicated here in the arrow. You may find like a station inventory. You may have it in your own lab if you have, say, 5 computers or whatever amount of computers you have. You may want to name them computer 1 or laptop 1, laptop 2, or whatever. However you want to sort them out, it's up to you. as long as you know how you have those ordered or organized. Okay, I see we have a question from Emmanuel. Is there a cost-effective way to use Chromebooks to administer e-tests? Kiosk functions are now locked behind paid Google Workspace enterprise accounts. That is a very good question, Emmanuel. Definitely, I wish the kiosk app was not dependent from a Google account or a Google license anymore. When our developers first created this e-test app to be used on Chromebooks, that was great because back then Google was not requesting any type of licenses or any type of extra credentials. So it is cost effective using Chromebooks, but you definitely require that, and that is from Google. They started asking for that after 2017, so around 2018. So if you have like older Chromebooks, those would be fine, but for the newer ones, you would need to have kiosk app enabled through a license. But you can send us a message to tech support and we can discuss about it briefly. We can discuss about it later if you like, so we can see from our programmers what is coming up next due to that bump in the way with Chromebooks, okay? Let's see. So let's say you enter all the information, you're ready to register your station. What's next? Okay, so it says here, station registered. You are almost ready to start testing your students. So station registered, you can just hit OK on that screen. And then this is the message that you will get. Please wait for your proctor to start the session or add your station to a session. All right. Notice, folks, that you're going to see that station ID number that we just entered into the site would be right here, the lab and the station name. Those settings are saved into this computer, and you can see that name of the computer on the top right. And then next thing to do is click exit. Once you finish registering your station, you would just click on exit. Now, what's next, right? I have registered my station already. What are the next steps? Okay, well, the next steps are to sign in as a proctor on your top right-hand corner into the same URL, which is etestonline.org or whatever state you are located. You should use that same URL that you use to register your stations. Once you click on sign in, you're going to be asked again for your login credentials. As you can see, I have typed in the Rolling Hills database login credentials again, and then hit login. This is the application management area. Okay. Now I have this slide over here. It has hyperlinks whenever you download it. These hyperlinks should take you to the product overviews. Understanding your testing sessions. So CASAS normally provides a set of sessions with standardized settings for ABE, which include reading and math goals. ABE and ASC are actually the same series, so we have combined them into a template called ABE/ASC. Then we also have a CIT, which is for citizenship. In case you do citizenship at your agency, you can also use eTest Online for that. We have the reading for citizenship in Life and Work Listening 980 series, and the government and history for citizenship as well. And finally, the ESL, we have ESL/ELL for those English language learners. And we have the Life and Work Reading series and the Life and Work Listening series. So we have developed these templates so you can find it easier for you to go over the testing sessions and know for sure that if you are testing an ESL student with an ESL session, that they're going to receive the Life and Work Reading and the Life and Work Listening. Okay, so then we have the series of testing sessions. You're going to find some tabs. Thank you, Beatrice. We're going to have some tabs that you can definitely use as filters. And we have this link as well for you to go into, which is going to take you to our product overviews and give you a brief description of what all these testing sessions mean and what they are for, to retest students or to progress post-test. The mostly used testing sessions is the intake pretest and the progress post-test. So remember, folks, that you're going to have these tabs in here that you can filter for ESL. You have some table filters tabs. Sometimes you may log in. How many of you have ever logged in and not seen anything in here? Like nothing, literally no testing sessions in this area? I don't know. Can you give me a raise hand or thumbs up? Has it ever happened to you that you don't see any testing sessions and then you go like, oh my gosh, where are my testing sessions? It may have occurred for some of you or for someone. So if that is the case, folks, you may have some filters here embedded that you may want to release. So I would just simply uncheck everything that you have on the top areas, whether you have some Proctor or Status filters going on, and then hit on Save Table Filters, uncheck that, and then hit the refresh button on the top right. You will, trust me, you will get to your testing sessions if you reset everything back to normal. Okay, our next step. Okay, you've already logged into the eTest application. Next thing is to locate the testing session that you are going to be using for your student. Like I said, the mostly used testing sessions are the intake pretest with locator and the progress post-test. So let's say you're giving an intake pretest with locator. Next step is to click on the start button. Okay, once we click on start, you're going to get this message. And then getting this pop-up saying that you are Proctor, who you are, you acknowledge this full responsibility, and then you want to do start an on-site session. When you click that, you're going to be immediately placed into the session activity window, which is where you normally would monitor your testing session. Very important, I didn't mention at the beginning, but in order for you to register a station, you must have Windows 10, or if you use a Chromebook, like our participant was asking before, that they need to have kiosk mode embedded. And we have the system requirements again on our website, so you can go through them and verify those settings. So now, if you are managing a session, you can do it from any possible any possible computer, as long as you have internet connection. But in regards to registering stations, they do require to have Windows 10. So let's say you have a Chromebook that doesn't have kiosk mode, you can use that Chromebook to be your Proctor's computer, okay? Because that Proctor's computer has, or that Chromebook has internet connection. So you can monitor your session from there. So once you started your session, it brings you to the session activity window. And now that we have registered our station, click on the Add Stations button so you can add it to the active session. Remember, the first thing we did was to register a computer. Well, we have the station right here. It was station 01. So I'll go ahead and click on to select that particular station and then click the select button, so I can successfully add it into my active session. See the status right here? That is active. So, and I see the station now is listed in the session activity window. So practically, it means that we have activated our session, we have added the testing station into the session, and what's next? Well, we'll have to go physically into that station that we just added and go ahead and run again CASAS Test Online. Remember this window? CASAS Test Online will be now on the student's computer, the registered station that we just registered. So now by clicking on Take a Test, that would be the next step for the student to do. And I see somebody is raising up their hand. Isaac, do you want to ask a question or something? You could also put it in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself. So when we click on take a test, we're going to see this CASAS web test again, the .exe. You're going to see that again. And all you have to do is just click on the executable file so you can run that file. Remember, it does turn the browser into a secure mode. Okay, so now you see the legend, this picture looks different. Now, instead of getting that message that said, please wait for your proctor to enter your station into a session, then you don't have that anymore. Now you have your enter your ID field. This is what you want to deliver to the student because they want to enter their ID number. And I purposely used our CASAS phone, the 800 number, so you can contact us in case you have any questions about this at the time of testing. All right. So the student is going to enter their information. They're going to be required for a series of demographic records. As you can see here, there's 18 pages that the student may have to go through, and the coordinator can manage these pages and limit them to only enter the first and the last name, or they can go through collecting all the demographic information that they are required to collect, or you are required to collect at your agency. So in this case, I entered Roger Rabbit. This would be my sample student in here. And once they go through all the data collection screens, as you can see, they have provided with their general information. Some of these may have skipped because they may not have it, or they just opted not to provide. So at the end of entering all these 18 data collection screens, you will have this review page. And towards the right, there are some buttons that will allow the student for them to change that information. Once they're done, they'll click on the save button. When they click on save, they're going to get placed into this test menu. So they can choose from which modality they want to take. This person was placed into the ESL session. That's why they got reading and listening. These form numbers here in the test menu are the reading and listening locators. On the session activity window on your end as a proctor, you will see how the student has successfully logged in and they started taking the locator. So the 102R is the locator for the reading. It's going to give you the information on when the test started. It's going to give you how much time they have left for this particular assessment, and then how many questions the student has answered. On the student's computer, they're going to see the items displayed on the left-hand side. All the questions are going to be, the items or like images will appear on your left or on their left of the screen. Their ID number, name on the top, and how much time they have left. And they're going to see the questions posted here in the responses area. A, B, C, or D, where they can use their keyboard as well. They can use the keys on the keyboard for A, B, C, and D. And they can also use the enter button. If they don't know how to use the mouse, they can also do that. And then you see the arrows. They can point forward or point back into the questions. They can also narrow down this area. If they want to see this area larger, they can hover the mouse in here and expand it and just drag it towards the right or the left. And you also have these augmentation or making the screen smaller. So this will go large if you click on the plus signs. Now back to your test, monitor your session window, your session activity window. You will be able to monitor the progress of the student by looking how well or how far the student has gone into which assessment. So this student has already gone through the locator. He was placed in an 81RX, which is a level AX, which is an extended level of our life and work reading series. And they have already entered 26 responses. They might be in the 27 questions. So you can always hit refresh. Thank you, Beatrice. Hit the refresh button, but the session activity window regularly refreshes periodically every 5 seconds or so. But you can also hit on refresh if you like to see the most updated information in here. At the end of the test, on the student's end, they will get this review page. If they, for some reason, skipped some of the questions, some of the responses, they can definitely, if they have enough time, if time permits, they will be able to see this review page, and they can come back to the question by just clicking on the boxes that they missed, and it will return them to that previous page so they can enter the response. And then they can click on review again. It's going to take them back to this list, and they can go back if they want. Otherwise, they can just click on end test. At the end of the test, the student will get a personal score report, which is going to give you their level, the form that they tested, the modality, the date, of course, and the scale score, as well as the NRS level that they are in. And this gives you a brief legend of what the ESL level 2 should supposed to do. And you can allow, or the coordinator can allow the student to print the report or just go ahead and exit towards the right. Okay, so once the student finished the reading assessment, they won't see that reading button again. As you see in here, it's no longer there. We just have the listening modality open in here for them. So that means that a student cannot take the same modality on the same day. They will forcibly need to skip a day in between modalities. It says, is there a way, we have a question from Laura. Is there a way to add the raw score to the result page? You definitely can. That would be in the session configuration settings under the admin tab. No, not under the admin tab, under the layout tab. So if you have coordinator rights to e-test online, you will be able to edit the testing session. Otherwise, you can ask your coordinator to edit it for you, and they will be able to see the raw score as well. Okay, so now the student, now disconnecting tests. We have a few minutes to go over these scenarios. So let's say a student has tested, okay, let me go back. Let's say a student tested on the reading modality, and for the listening modality, they didn't have enough time and they were at the middle of the testing session where they immediately had to leave. So what we do in these cases, from the student's computer when they are testing, you can do this key command, the control plus the E letter in your keyboard. And this command is only for proctors to know. You don't have to share this with your students. And that way, this little pop-up box will show up. It gives you the ability to score the test and end it at that moment, or do not score the test and end it now. This will refer to as canceling the test or aborting it. You can exit. So you can exit the student at that time, which all the questions that the student has already responded will save in the record. They will not get deleted, and it will just pause the test so the student can return at a later time or tomorrow to finish the test. So you can do that from the student's computer, the control E key command. Then on your session activity window, you can also do that. So there's two ways to do it, from the student's computer, which we already saw, and you can do it from the teacher's computer, the proctor. By clicking this intervene button while the student is testing, then you will get this pop-up message. Here you can either score, abort, or disconnect. So I would disconnect them so they can leave and then return at a later point. Now, when the student gets disconnected, if he tries to go to the next question, he's going to get this message. The testing session state is invalid for this request. So you just click OK, and then we restart the application. Let's say, okay, this is reconnecting tests in progress. When the student comes back to finish that test in progress, let's go ahead and see what's next. Okay, so you launch the test again. The first few steps that we took to log into the application management, to start a session and add the station to the session. All right. Now on the testing station for the student, again, they would go ahead and log in their student ID number and then be recognized as themselves, because they should use their same unique ID number, folks. We definitely highly encourage you to review what ID number they are using, because it is connected to the test that it was in progress. So once they do recognize themselves, they should say yes or no. And if that's not them, then, or if it asks them to start entering again their information from scratch, that is a sign that they have to alert the proctors, or the proctors should be really looking for any of these. Just let the student know that it should recognize them. They should enter their same unique ID number. Once we have entered the ID number, recognize the student, they're going to get this message. Your last test was suspended and needs to be reconnected. And it gives you a note here. It says, click the intervene button from the session activity window. And this is what I'm going to display next. This is a screen from your session activity window. So you're going to get this request from the student's end. And guess what you need to do? Just click on the intervene button. This is the only button that will allow you to reconnect on your end. So clicking reconnect will place the student back into the session activity, and it will allow him to continue where he left off. The student should be displaying back all the same items where he left off, and can continue responding to the questions that he has left. Okay. At the end, once the testing is complete, the student should log out of his screen, and then you'll see the student is inactive. And then to ensure test security, you can definitely click on the manage button and stop the session at the end of the session. Okay, the end of the testing day. That way, the testing session will come back to its normal state, which is to be available for another proctor to start a test, or for you to start another testing session. Right now, to ensure, let's say you finish testing for the entire day, then ensure test security, you would log out of the system. This would equivalent to, in a real life with paper pencil assessments, to store those booklets and lock them into a cabinet. So if you log out, you ensure the security of those tests. Okay. Now, revisiting back to our proctor responsibilities. We have gone through the steps to prepare a test, how to sign in, how to start the testing session, how to open the application, how to add the stations into the session activity window, and then begin a test. Go to the testing station, launch the test. You can help the examinee understand the test delivery. You can help them enter the demographic information. You can help them translate if a student is doesn't speak a lot of English and you are bilingual, you can definitely assist them. But as soon as the student clicks on that begin test button, then you're not able to help them. I'm sorry, unless they have a computer glitch or their internet is failing. You can, if you have a different computer, you can definitely use swap computers for the student. But now that we are revisiting these steps, I hope that you are now feeling more confident on proctoring tests. We do have some resources and help documentation on our website, and I've included these hyperlinks in here for some documentation and videos. And on my behalf and Beatriz and Delfino, I appreciate you very much for coming, and thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Over to you, Beatriz.
Thank you, Martha. Thank you for this great presentation, very informative. And thank you everyone for attending the meeting. Thank you for joining us. And a friendly reminder to complete your session evaluation. You can complete the evaluation through the polls section in Whova, in the link sent to you through email. Thank you for joining us today. See you in your next session and have a great day. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Sorry, no certificates for this session. It's just informative. Thank you.